It's been so long. I know you've been waiting on chapter 29. Finally, I have a little bit of time to do it. It has been crazy in my life for these last 3 or 4 days. So let's get to it. This is D&D number 14, Such a Time as This, in Jesus' name, chapter 29. Outside the house, people came out of the stores and restaurants to look up and down the street. Most of them came back to check with others to see if they really did experience an earthquake right here in Pine Forest, Georgia. However, they quickly zeroed in on the old Sawyer house because it appeared security agents were scuffling with gang members and throwing them down and cuffing them, and the Pine Forest police and Pine County sheriffs were loading them into cruisers and taking them to the county holding cells. They recognized some of their own citizens, Keegan Tanner, Chad Stewart, and John Apple, as 3 of the 4 security agents. A few townspeople came over to ask Keegan what was going on. Mrs. Bonner, who ran the floral shop, and Christopher Reagan, who owned the book nook. Keegan quickly explained that they were having a prayer meeting inside the house, and that some that hated Christians and heard about it, and they were trying to stop them. "Well, isn't that silly?" Mrs. Bonner exclaimed, shaking her head. "What is this world coming to?" Keegan nodded. "I heard your daughters were ill," she went on. "Are ill," she went on. He nodded again. "They are. That's why we're having this prayer meeting." "Well, we'll all keep praying for them," Mrs. Bonner said. "Thank you," he replied as his phone buzzed. "Excuse me, it's Lizzie, probably giving me an update." "Oh, yes, go ahead," she said with a smile. Keegan turned his back and walked away a few steps. "Hey, baby, how's it going?" Lizzie sniffed. "Keegan." When she didn't go any further, his heart began to race. "Elizabeth, talk to me. Is Iris... is she still with us?" Lizzie sniffed again. "Yes, barely. Keegan, she went into cardiac arrest, and they had to resuscitate her, and she's now on life support. It was so hard to watch them work on her tiny little body. The doctors told me to be prepared. It doesn't look good. I overheard one of the nurses saying it would take a miracle." Keegan drew a deep breath. "Well, sweetheart, that's what we're trying to make happen, a miracle. And so far, it's not been an easy battle." "Oh, Keegan, I know you're fighting hard. I shouldn't have called you. I just needed so badly to hear your voice." He closed his eyes a moment as he called on the Lord to help him speak the right words that would help his sweet wife. "Well, I'm glad you called me, baby. You can always call me, always come to me, no matter what. And we'll work through these hard times together. No matter what, Liz. No matter what happens, you and I will be strong for the family. We'll help them to understand why things happen the way they do. We'll trust God. I promise you, baby, He will give us peace and help us through this hard time." Lizzie breathed a sigh. "Oh, Keegan, I love you so much. That is exactly what I needed to hear. Will you hang in there, baby? Tell Heather and Rose and Nolan and Jericho the same thing I just said, and ask them to please hang in there. And either you call Daisy or ask one of them, and tell Daisy and Violet and CJ the same thing. We all have to be on the same page, united. A united front to stand against this evil and show them that no matter what, we will not be defeated. We will not be angry with God or turn away from Him. And we will trust Him." "I will. I'll tell them right now." "Good. I love you, Elizabeth. But, baby, I have to go. It looks like more trouble is brewing." "Oh, be careful, Keegan." "I promise." New scene. The 21 men inside the house hydrated, prayed together, and stood in their places assigned to them by the Lord. Each of the 12 used their right hand to grasp the left wrist of the person beside them. The other 9 men circled behind them and spread out to encompass the entire group, a human wall of protection. While the 12 had been mentally, spiritually, and physically preparing for the next round, the 9 had prepared the home. They gathered the hammer and the staple gun and a toolbox in the kitchen and paintbrushes and some PVC pieces of pipe, and some leftover 2x4s, some hard hats, rolls of duct tape and painter's tape, anything that could be hurled at them, and they carried them all outside to the side yard and dumped them. The four outside asked him what was going on and were surprised at the overt display being put on. It was so radical that no one would believe it. They hadn't checked the security cameras yet, but were looking forward to seeing if the action had been recorded. Now, all 21 men stood ready. Eric directed Justice to be in close proximity to his grandfather Thomas, and Ricky to be in close proximity to Eric. Everyone else, no matter where they were, be alert and aware, because the outer 9 warriors were, in essence, the bodyguards of the 12. They began, and as the 12 tried to use the power of their minds to open a portal through which the demons would be expelled, the activity picked up again. It began with a trembling of the entire structure, the floor shaking, the walls appearing to actually move. A large crack appeared in the sheetrock near the stairwell and made its way up the second floor. Another giant wind picked up, making their hair whip around their heads and their clothing flap against their skin. Well, obviously we're doing something, Eric stated calmly, hitting a nerve, so don't stop. See it. See it. The wind got louder. It roared. The 2 wrought iron chandeliers over their heads swayed wildly. They battled only for about 5 minutes, but it was harder than one might think to concentrate so hard inside of a tornado. Gabe looked up, his eyes getting big, as for just a moment he thought he saw the roof lift off the house. Then it was back as it should be. But one of the chandeliers broke free in its spin and came straight at him. He tried to duck, but it happened so fast. Logan and JoJo jumped toward him to block for him, and all 3 of them landed in a heap on the floor. Gabe on the bottom, the chandelier against his chest, Logan on top and JoJo on top of Logan. And they slowly removed themselves from the pile to find that Gabe wasn't moving. He's not breathing, JoJo called out in a panic as he and Logan lifted the heavy chandelier off of Gabe's chest. Sess, a gifted doctor, and Ricky, a certified EMT, moved in quickly. His heart is beating, Sess said. Ricky was already in position to give mouth-to-mouth and leaned down to blow air into Gabe's lungs. He gave him 3 breaths, and Gabe gasped and his eyes flew open. Young Eric, JoJo, and Logan didn't try to stop their tears of joy as they saw Gabe respond. Ricky smiled down at the young man and ran his hand over his hair in a fatherly gesture. Gabe, how you feeling? Gabe sat up and nodded. I'm good. How long was I out? About 30 seconds, JoJo said. Gabe's eyebrows shot up. That's all? Really? Yes, why? Eric asked. How long did you think you'd been out? Gabe shrugged. An hour, maybe. They all got quiet. What did you see, Gabe? Eric asked in his calm, quiet voice. I saw the tree. I saw Jesus, and I saw... He had to stop as he realized what he saw and what it might mean. His eyes welled with tears, and he sniffed, and he looked around, then continued. And I saw Iris and Lily. Everyone was quiet as they thought about that. It was Justice who asked the question, his voice shaky. Does that mean that they've passed? Eric shook his head. Not necessarily. Gabe saw both himself and me under that tree, and here we are. Did Jesus speak to you, Gabe? Gabe nodded. Yes, sir. He said that some of us are envisioning a portal opening to hell. He understood that because we know that demons belong in hell. But that portal is only something God can open, and he will open it to send them to their destruction. But we must only open a portal that sends them out of this earthly dimension, and he'll take it from there. I asked him why he couldn't just open the portal for us, and he said his usual answer. He said he could, but what good would that do? He said, you have the power, and you have to find your power and do this. You must learn to do it under this great pressure. Eric nodded in understanding. They all nodded in understanding. It was something they'd taught to others all their lives. People would ask them, why doesn't God just wave his arm and heal someone, or make something better, or get rid of evil, or stop all the wars, or all the diseases? And his answer was always, what good would that do? What would we learn from that? How would we get strong? How would we evolve? God accomplishes things through the works and doings of his children. That's how they learn and get strong and become worthy. Every once in a while, he must resort to divine intervention. But first, he watches and waits and nudges and points and inspires and motivates and emboldens us. It reminded Eric of when Ricky was a little boy, how he taught him to use the little climbing wall in their backyard. He spoke and sometimes pointed the child to where he should place his foot, where his next step should be. Eric allowed Ricky to do it on his own until he'd misstep and start to fall, and only then would Eric step in and catch him. And what would happen next? Eric would have Ricky start again. But if all Eric did was pick Ricky up and place him at the top of the wall, what good would that do? What would Ricky accomplish? Nothing. No learning, no skill, no strength, no trust built, nothing. Because it's not topping the wall that was important. It was the getting there, the climbing, the hard work. We have to choose to take that next step so we can learn where to place our foot and then get strong by pulling ourselves up to the next level and beginning to trust that we won't fall or that he won't let us fall. Sorry, that is just so powerful. For some reason which had not been disclosed, the 12 of them were supposed to learn how to open a portal. They were supposed to know how it's done, how it feels to do it, see what it accomplishes, and help them to understand their true power. That power must be important. Maybe the 12 of them learning about and knowing this power will help them to know how to save people's lives or even help their souls by making a way for them somehow here in these last days. We don't know what we don't know. We have to walk by faith. New scene. It is still January 30th, 2:35 p.m. Thursday afternoon at the old Sawyer home, Pine Forest, Georgia. They'd been at it for 2.5 hours, and they were all exhausted, but they refused to give up. Justice felt like he was going to go mad. He was tired, frustrated, and pretty much in mourning. He'd found happiness again when he'd met Lily Tanner. His heart had begun to heal. He knew the two of them were supposed to be, like both his grandfather and the Tanner said the answer was right in front of him. She was the girl who was supposed to be his mate, the girl who helped him to feel that closeness with the Lord again, a closeness he'd missed, a closeness he craved. Lily was his soulmate, and now it looked like God was going to take her right back from him. How could that be? Justice was worried that these men would get tired and give up. He wondered how long they would go. A few of them were quite old. How long could they keep this up? Please don't quit, he prayed silently. Please don't give up. Lily and Iris are depending on us. He glanced around. They'd all taken a seat on the floor for a few minutes and sipped some water. They were pretty quiet. Please don't give up, he thought again. He looked over at Lily's brother, Gabe Tanner. He had blood on his face and on his white uniform. His jaw was set, his eyes looking straight ahead. He looked fierce. And Justice knew that he wouldn't give up. Justice, be strong. Justice looked around. Granddad, what did you say? Thomas shook his head. I didn't speak. Justice blew out a deep breath. Was the Lord speaking to him? He was trying to be strong, wasn't he? What more could he do? Be bold, he heard, and looked upward. I'm trying, he thought. Try harder. He drew a deep breath and nodded his head and stood. Grandmaster Keno got a text and read it aloud to the group. This text is from Jeffy. Iris is fading. We are about to prep Lily for surgery. Listen to me, Dad. You have to keep trying. In this next session, no matter what happens, don't stop. Even if someone gets hurt or falls down or is pushed down, don't stop doing what Jesus has asked you to do. Don't anyone stop. Do not stop. Eric sighed, and those last words are in all caps. He looked around. Logically, God would not bring us this far to abandon us, so we must be close. He wants us to succeed. We must succeed. So, we need to go into this with the mindset that we are going to break the boards. He smiled at the ones who didn't understand what he was talking about. Let me explain. When a student is learning to break boards in martial arts, it seems almost impossible to them. Those of us who've mastered it know that it is not impossible. We know it's really a tweaking of the mind. I will not fail is what we tell ourselves. I will break the board, and if I don't do it on the first try, I will still do it. I will not stop until I do it. Those of us who break boards on a regular basis know that it can be done. And that must be what Jesus is thinking right now. He wouldn't assign us to open a portal when it can't be done. So, it can be done. So what that means is, no matter what, don't stop. Don't stop your mind. Don't get distracted. Concentrate and focus on the task. They all nodded. Are we ready? Eric asked. They all got back on their feet and looked around the circle at each other. Even if someone falls down, don't stop visualizing, Miguel said softly. Lev nodded. I won't stop. Nor will I, Ronnie said, reassuring the others, knowing he was a weak link, but trying very hard to not be. Alo nodded solemnly. I will go until I die, and I will gladly give my life for Lily and Iris. Gabe got emotional at that and choked back the tears. This man was offering his life for two young girls he didn't even know. JoJo nodded at the words of the man who will probably be his father-in-law. Then he looked up at Thomas Sawyer, whom they discovered was JoJo's great-uncle on his biological mother's side. And then he glanced at Grandmaster Kino, the stepfather of JoJo's father, his grandfather. And I will protect you all, he suddenly felt inclined to say. Grandmaster Kino smiled. The warriors were emerging. Young Eric put his hand on Gabe's shoulder. We got you, bro. I, too, will give my life for your sisters. I'm all in. Let's do this, Billy Wallace proclaimed. The men smiled and grasped the wrist of the man next to him. Ricky, Justin, Jason, Mark, Joey, Justice, Logan, JoJo, and young Eric all circled around. See the portal, Eric directed quietly. Father, lead us, guide us, give us strength, please, in Jesus' name. Amen, they all whispered. Again, as they began, an internal wind picked up, and their hair flew out around them, and their clothing began to flap wildly against their skin. So, we have this part down, Eric said. We've got this part. We can begin fairly quickly. Always, as soon as we begin, the wind starts. We know something is happening. Now the question is, can we finish? They heard the house groan, almost as if it were in pain, and then they actually heard the word, no. They all looked around, stunned that they heard an audible word from the demons. It was low, deep, and guttural. As if that wasn't surprising enough, what they heard next sent chills through them. They are mine. Maybe the demons thought that would scare them. It didn't. It made them fiercer than ever, and their thoughts of opening the portal got stronger. Justice felt what the demon said deeply in his soul, and he became what the Lord told him to become, bold. Well, I've got news for you, he shouted. They are not yours, Justice yelled loudly above the wind, and the house shook violently. They are not yours. They are mine, Justice yelled. They are mine, and you can't have them. A Bible lifted off the floor where each man had laid them at their feet and flew at Justice, and he ducked and it hit the wall. Justice yelled again. You can't have them. Lily and Iris are mine. They are ours, he said again, patting Gabe on his shoulder. They are God's, he continued. You can't have them. They are dead. Justice swallowed back the fear that those words brought, and he moved from outside the circle to the very center of the 12. His eyes focused upward, and he turned around slowly, watching for flying objects. They are not dead, Justice argued. And even if they die from your stupid little stunts, they are not dead. They are with God, and they will always live. Always. They are with Jesus, who is the light of the world. He is the light, he yelled. And Lily and Iris belong to him. And so do all of us. Like Gabe said earlier, you cannot win. You will not win, no matter what. We will not be defeated. You have no real power. You don't. Justice flew back through the circle, past the outer circle of men, and slammed into the wall. He moaned, but immediately reminded the 12, "Don't stop! Don't you dare stop!" Mark and Joey helped Justice to his feet, patted him on the back, and he nodded his head to let them know he was okay. "Big deal," he immediately yelled. "I don't care what you do to me. You can't defeat me because I've already won. Jesus has me. Jesus has all of us. And you can't hurt me," he yelled. "You can't hurt us." This time he was slammed against the wall and held there. Then he was pushed up the wall until his head slammed into the ceiling, and then he was dropped to the 12 feet to the floor. This time young Eric and Logan helped him up. "Don't stop," Ricky reminded everyone. "You are weak," Justice yelled. "Your antics make me laugh. So stupid, so childish. You thought when you took out Knox's children and his wife that you would destroy the Sawyer family. Well, you failed at that, didn't you? You failed, and you're about to fail again big time. You failed," he yelled a few more times. This time he flew up into the air, his arms and legs flailing in startled reflex. His back hit the broken metal from the chandelier on the ceiling, and he grunted with the pain. Then he slammed into the floor. Everyone looked down at him, a blood stain blossoming on his back, looking bright red on the white of his shirt. He rolled over. "Do not stop," he reminded the men again. "Please don't stop. Make it happen. Say it," he screamed. JoJo and Logan lifted him to his feet. "Look," Gabe said. They all looked at Gabe, but he was staring upward. Their eyes followed his, and their mouths opened in surprise, as the ceiling was no longer there. The second floor was not there. The roof was not there. They were staring up into the sky. It was almost 3 in the afternoon, and the sky should have been light, but they were staring up into a night sky. They could see stars and a streak of golden light, like the tail of a shooting star, and around it all, it looked almost like a circular rainbow. It was so very beautiful, and they all became emotional. And Justice's heart felt like it might explode with joy, because they were doing it. Eric kept the task at hand uppermost in his mind. "Don't stop," he reminded them once again. "Don't let what you're seeing distract you. Don't stop." The house began to scream. The sound was so loud, so appalling, so loathsome, so offensive, and almost made their blood curdle in their veins. "Concentrate," Sok-Chai yelled. Seth nodded. "Focus," he shouted above the noise. They heard glass breaking upstairs first, and then in the kitchen, and the shards gathered into the vortex, whipping around them in the wind, cutting their faces, necks, arms, any exposed skin. Before that could even register, Justice was lifted again, his body floating upward. JoJo and Logan ran forward and reached for him, each grabbing a leg, but then they too began lifting into the air, and Ricky and young Eric ran forward to grab Logan, while Mark and Joey ran forward to grab JoJo. "Do not Eric began, but his words were choked off literally. He pulled his wrist free of Ronnie's grasp and let go of Sessa's wrist, and he reached for his own throat, trying to remove whatever had hold of him. Justin and Jason caught him as he stumbled backward, trying to figure out what was wrong because whatever had him was invisible to their eyes. The house roared at them. Ricky, young Eric, Mark, and Joey held on to Logan and JoJo with all of their might. Alo dropped to his knees as he began to black out. Ronnie went down. Lev stumbled backward, and Sakchai reached to help him. "Don't stop!" Gabe yelled fiercely as he looked around, seeing everyone drop to their knees. The screams, the wind, the battle came to a feverish pitch. And then everything stopped. Justice, JoJo, Logan all fell to the floor, landing on Ricky, young Eric, Mark, and Joey. At the same time, the shards of glass and dust fell innocuously to the floor. Eric gasped as he was able to get some air. The men peeled off the pile and checked to make sure they were all okay. Justice was dizzy and breathing hard. Ricky helped him to sit up. Everyone checked on the one next to them. Alo sat up. Ronnie sat up. Sakchai helped Lev to sit down. Gabe walked to the window and looked up at the sky. He took note of his father and the others and Pine Forest police and sheriffs and townspeople milling around, and then turned. "So, Grandmaster Kino, did we do it? Are we free and clear?" Eric breathed deeply. I feel like we did. I feel like they're gone. What do you all think?" "They are gone," Andrew said in his thick accent. "I know of a certainty that they are gone." Enrique nodded. "They are definitely gone. The Sawyer home is free. The Sawyers are free." Thomas nodded. "We are free, and the Tanners are also free." Billy smiled. "Oh, now, lads, that was an adventure, wasn't it?" The men chuckled. Justice looked at Gabe. "Now, we just need to know that Lily and Iris made it through." Gabe nodded. At that moment, the front door opened. Keegan, John, Jeff, and Chaz entered. "Sorry, we didn't want to disturb, but felt like we needed to make sure you were all still alive," John said, his eyes opening wide as they swept the bloody scene. Every one of them was cut and bleeding on their faces and necks and arms. Keegan immediately searched for Gabe and smiled with relief as he saw him standing upright and smiling. "What in the hell happened in here?" Jeff asked. Grandmaster Kino chuckled. "Exactly." It was Jason who answered. "The dark forces that we fight every day made themselves evident. Hopefully our cameras picked it all up and you can watch the antics of demons throwing a fit." "What did you hear or see from outside?" JoJo asked. "Well, not much, really," Chaz answered. "There was an earthquake. It registered on the USGS as a 2.1, and all the people in town came out to see what was happening. We told them a prayer meeting was taking place for the girls. We didn't see anything else happen until the windows busted out on the second floor. We didn't want to mess up the prayer meeting, but thought we needed to come check on you. After all, you've been in here 3 hours. Eric nodded. 3 hours. From noon to 3. Miguel smiled. Sound familiar? 3 hours of darkness during the time Jesus hung on the cross. Eric smiled. Interesting indeed. He glanced down at the phone as it buzzed. It was Jeffy. "Yes, Jeffy, you're on speaker. Tell us all some good news, please." "Good news?" she said. "Well, Jesus lives. He overcame death and he holds the keys. Because of him and his grace, we all are saved." Billy laughed. "Well, that is good news indeed, but really, tell us about the young lassies. How are they doing?" "Well," Jeffy began, "we were just about to do brain surgery to try to keep the aneurysm from completely rupturing and stop any further brain bleeding. Lily is already sedated, but when we saw the final scan, we couldn't find the bleed or the aneurysm. We're doing another scan, but I examined her. I went into her with my mind, and there is no aneurysm. There is no bleed at all. There is nothing. When she wakes up, she will be good as new." Justice swayed on his feet and then dropped to his knees. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you," he cried openly. Gabe laid a hand on his shoulder. "Amen," he said softly, and then looked up at his father. "And Iris?" Keegan shook his head. "I don't know yet. I haven't had time." Dr. Kino, Gabe asked, do you know what's happening with Iris? I do. Do you have your phone on you, Mr. Tanner? Keegan nodded. I do, he said, as he pulled it out. Before he could even look at it, a video call came in, and he immediately accepted the call. Elizabeth, is everything okay? Lizzie sniffed and wiped the tears from her eyes. Oh, Keegan, she cried. I really wish you were here. He frowned. I'm on my way, he said softly. Hold on, baby. Gabe's eyes filled. Okay, I'm holding on, but first, there's someone who wants to speak with you. She turned the phone. Keegan's eyes got big and his smile was wide. Daddy, Mommy says that you are far away. He cleared his throat. I'm about an hour away, baby girl. Will you come get me? I'm on my way, sweetie. Hold on. Okay, and Mommy says that Gabe come home. Keegan chuckled. Yes, he did. I want Gabe. Okay, I'll bring him with me. Okay, Daddy. You want to talk to him? He's standing right here. Yes, I want Gabe. Gabe took the phone. Hey, my flower girl. Hi, Gabe. I missed you. I missed you too. How are you feeling? I'm not sick anymore, but the doctor says I have to stay here the whole day and another sweep. Gabe chuckled. Okay, just one more sleep and you'll come home. But I'll come see you right now. Okay, I love you, Gabe. I love you too, baby girl, he said, his voice choking with emotion. Why is you crying? Iris asked. Gabe laughed. I'm just happy to see you. The men all smiled and nodded at each other. It feels very good, Lev began, to be witness to the love in this amazing Tanner family and to feel their relief and their gratitude. I am so grateful that we finally accomplished the task the Lord set upon us, Seth said softly. So grateful, Andrew added with a nod. Well, my gratitude knows no bounds right now, Keegan said. Would you mind if my son and I kneel right here and give thanks? Of course not, Eric said, as long as you allow us to join you. We were about to pray to close this thing out and leave the house with a blessing and anointing. Keegan nodded. Oh, good. Yes, please join us, and then maybe all of you might need a little bit of first aid administered. The men chuckled. Yeah, that might be a good idea, Seth said. You all look a little worse for wear. Jeffy, still on the phone, got their attention. Well, Daddy and everyone, I have one more message for you. It's from Jesus. He says, well done, my good and faithful servants. And the 25 hardened warriors in the room all broke down in tears. New scene. It is January 30th still. It is 3:45 p.m. Thursday afternoon, Pine Forest Memorial Hospital. Gabe and Keegan stopped at the entrance to the ICU waiting room. They both frowned in confusion. They thought they heard Lily speaking. They listened for a minute. She was saying, I'm almost done. I just want to say to Justice what a pleasure it's been to know him. Justice, please don't let this destroy you. When we first got to the hospital, you said you were my fiancé, and I'm going to pretend it's true. They walked into the room. Surprised, Cam, CJ, and Violet turned with big smiles. Violet immediately rushed forward into her father's arms. Daddy, I thought you two were going to go straight up to Atlanta. He squeezed her hard. We were, but we passed right by here on the way, and Gabe thought maybe we should at least just stop by for a minute. Oh, I'm so glad you did. Daisy and Jeffy are in with Lily right now. Keegan nodded. Okay. He turned to nod at the guys. Cam, CJ, good to see you guys. You too, sir, Cam said. It's been a rough few days. Yeah, it has, Gabe put in with a smile. They looked him over. You look like hell, CJ said. Gabe smiled. Yeah, I've been battling hell. But you should see Justice. He's a lot worse. He's down in the ER right now getting his back all stitched up. What happened? Well, it's a long story, and I'm told there's a video of what took place, but in a nutshell, he was stabbed in the back by a broken piece of metal that was sticking out from the ceiling where the chandelier used to hang. CJ frowned. From the ceiling? How did Justice get stabbed by something on the ceiling? Gabe sighed and nodded. Right? He was lifted into the air by unseen forces and thrown up against the ceiling. They all stood silently a moment. Got to see that video, Cam said softly. They all nodded. Keegan smiled. So, when we first came up to the door here, we thought we heard Lily's voice. Violet nodded. Oh, yeah, you did. We were listening to the recording that Lily made when she thought she wasn't going to make it through the day. Oh, well, go ahead. I'd like to hear that. Well, I was actually about to stop it just as you came in because it's to the place where she says some pretty personal stuff to Justice. Keegan nodded. I see. Well, I'd still like to hear it, so I'll ask Lily if she'll share it with me. And if it was directed to me, I too will ask Lily if she'll share it. They all turned as Justice came in the door. Hey, Justice, Violet said, moving forward and giving him a hug, and he grunted as she touched his back. Oh, I'm so sorry. I just heard that you were stabbed in the back by a chandelier. Justice smiled. No, I was stabbed in the back by a demon who wanted to kill me and Lily and Iris. You should have seen this guy, Gabe said. He yelled at the bad guys. He got them all riled up, and they went after him. You did too, Gabe. They didn't like us very much. Gabe nodded. No, they did not. Justice smiled. They even tried to keep you out. How did they do that? CJ asked. They slammed the door in his face, Justice said. Violet frowned. Well, you both look like you've been in an explosion. Your faces are all scratched up. Gabe, your mouth is all swollen. How did that happen? Did you get punched by a demon? Gabe chuckled. No, his weapon of choice was a Bible. But that was also our weapon of choice, so it all worked out. The group smiled. Again, Cam said, can't wait to see that video. Jeffy and Daisy entered the room. Keegan smiled as Daisy rushed into his arms. Jeffy smiled and went to hug Gabe and Justice. Good job in there, guys. You were both rock stars. Gabe sighed. Thank you, Dr. Kino, and thanks for working so hard to keep my sisters alive. Oh, I'm just grateful that God was with us, because it was all him. Well, I'd like to see my daughter, Keegan said. He turned to Justice. Gabe and I will just poke our heads in and say hello, and then we're headed up to Atlanta so you can have Lily all to yourself. Justice smiled and nodded. Thank you, sir. He raised his eyebrows. And while they do that, I want to hear the recording. So, Violet, will you go ask Lily real quick if she would allow that? Violet smiled. Sure, Justice. Anything for you. Violet, Keegan, and Gabe headed to Lily's room. She looked up with a giant smile. Daddy! Gabe! Hello, sweet girl, Keegan said, his voice warm and soft. Lily, before you and Dad get all emotional together, Justice is here and he wants to know if he can hear the video recording that you made while he waits for Dad and Gabe to get out of his way. Lily giggled, her hands clapping together. Justice is here? Yes. He's going to wait for you to speak with Dad and Gabe, and they have to leave pretty quickly because Iris is desperately waiting on them. And then I think Justice plans to hog you. So can I show him the video? She sighed. Well, oh man, I said some crazy stuff. But you know what? He already knows most of that anyway. So yeah, go ahead. Show him. Or like anyone in our family, I guess. I want them all to know how much I love them. Violet nodded. Okie dokie, sis. You got it. I'll leave you to Dad and Gabe. Thank you. Bye. I love you. Violet smiled. I love you too, Lily, and I am walking on air that you're going to be okay. Me too, she said excitedly. Violet left the room, and Lily's eyes looked into the loving, caring eyes of her father and brother. She sniffed and held her hands out. You guys. They both moved forward, one on her right and the other on her left, and they each hugged her and kissed her cheek. And Gabe's eyes filled. I thought I wasn't going to see you again. Not in this life, anyway. I can't tell you how happy I am that you're sitting here, talking, smiling, totally alive. She nodded. I know how you feel, because that's how I felt when you walked into Grandmaster Kino's room and begged them to not take him off life support. I'd already gone in your room and held your hand and kissed you goodbye, and then suddenly you were alive. So, I get it. She turned to look at her father, and he smiled and leaned down and held her tight. My baby girl, he said softly. I'm so grateful you're still here with us. I will be forever grateful. Me too, Daddy. I love you so much. She turned to Gabe. And I love you too, little brother. I can't stop saying that to everyone. Gabe nodded. And I get that. She sighed and looked closer at Gabe. Your face is all cut up. He nodded. Yeah, the bad guys threw glass at me and a Bible and then threw me. Oh no, that's terrible. What all happened? He laughed. It's too much to tell right now because we have to go see Iris, who's crying for us, but there is video, we think, if it's not distorted. Still, I'll tell you this. It was Justice who really took them on there at the end. He saved the day. He drew them out by yelling at them and telling them they can't have you or Iris, and then they threw him all over the place, against the wall, against the ceiling, and then they tried to take him with them when they were being sucked out through the portal, though I doubt Jesus would have let that happen. Lily's eyes filled with tears. I hope he's okay. He is, Keegan said. Yeah, he's good, Gabe added. I didn't mean to worry you. I just wanted you to know that Justice was strong in there. He was not going to let them win. He was bound and determined to save you, and he got pretty riled up, and it was very cool to be able to witness that. Oh, I can't wait to talk to him, she said softly. Well, sweetheart, Keegan said, he's out there waiting on us to finish talking to you. So we're going to go ahead and leave. We just wanted to stop by and see you being alive and well. We thought we'd lost you, and we were struggling quite a bit with that. But God is so good. He's so amazing, and here you are talking and smiling and completely well. Lily blinked up at him. I can tell that you've been through a hard time, Dad. I'm sorry. I never want to cause you pain. Well, don't apologize for something that you didn't do. Evil reached out and caused this, and we must never compromise. You got it? Yes, sir, she said with a grin. Never. Gabe leaned over and hugged her again. I'll see you tomorrow, Lily. We'll all be together, and it will be heaven. Yes, it will, Lily said softly. Keegan hugged and kissed his daughter. See you tomorrow, baby girl. I think your mom might come see you this evening, and once we get up there to Iris, she'll come home because she needs to nurse the twins. Lily nodded. Oh, I want to hug her so much. Who, your mom or Iris? Lily nodded with a giggle. Yes. All righty then, Gabe said. We'll send Justice in. Lily clapped her hands together. Thank you. Do I look okay? Gabe looked her over and smoothed some hair near the back of her head. There. You look perfect. Out in the waiting room, Keegan and Gabe found Justice listening intently to the video recording Lily had made, a goodbye recording. She thought her life was over. She thought she'd never see her family or Justice again. Her message was honest and beautiful and filled with longing. They waited until the recording was over, and Justice looked up from Violet's phone. He nodded and rose. Sir? Gabe? How is she? Keegan smiled. She's good and is very much looking forward to the moment that you poke your head in that room. Gabe moved forward and shook Justice's hand. Hey, I know I already said it, but you were great in there today. I really think your righteous anger is what got everyone focused and riled up enough to open the portal. Justice sighed. I was worried, you know. I was worried that you would give up. I mean, not you individually, but everyone. I was worried that someone might think, hey, this is impossible. This is too hard. We can't do it. You know, because actually that's how it seemed. Oh, I get it, Gabe said. But you don't know me very well. I don't give up. Not ever. There was no danger of that. Not for my family. Justice nodded. Well, maybe I'm just giving voice to my own weakness because it did seem impossible. Keegan nodded. Jesus wouldn't ask us to do something that's not possible. It just requires a little bit of faith. But unlike my son, mine was wavering. I'm glad I was outside fighting bad guys that I could see. Justice blinked up at him. Oh, yeah, I haven't heard about what happened on the outside. Well, you will. It was a mess. We had some MS-13 gang members ride up on us. We had some plain old street punks come up on us. We put down, detained, and arrested 11 men and 2 women, all who tried to take us out and get into the house. Besides that, the whole town was out watching and looking around, trying to figure out if they really were experiencing an earthquake. Oh, wow, Justice said. So the shaking, it wasn't just inside the house. Others felt it too. Yes, and it actually registered on the USGS, a 2.2 and several smaller aftershocks. I'm glad I didn't know that, Justice said. I mean, demons that are strong enough to move the earth. That would mess with my head. Gabe smiled. Being picked up and thrown against a ceiling wasn't scary enough to mess with your head? Justice chuckled. Well, I guess I was focused on the pain and it pissed me off. He glanced at Keegan. Sorry, I mean, it made me mad. Keegan chuckled. I know what you meant. Gabe laughed. You know, my dad's a Marine. He's heard and said a whole lot worse than that. Justice smiled. Well, I'm going to head in to see Lily. Keegan nodded. So, are you two engaged? Engaged? Oh, no, sir. Okay, well, I'm just asking because that's how it just sounded on the last part of that video. Justice shook his head. You need to hear the whole thing. So, no, we're not engaged yet. I haven't had a chance to speak to you and Mrs. Tanner about it, and I know Lily and I haven't known each other very long. Still, I believe we're supposed to be together, and you yourself said as much the first day I met you. You said, the answer is right in front of your eyes. And it was. And my eyes are open now. And like I told those demons, she's mine. He looked into the man's eyes. How could anyone not love Lily? How could anyone not give his life to have her? I would, because she's become everything to me. Well, other than God, of course. I love her, Mr. Tanner. Keegan smiled. Justice, hold on. You had me at we're supposed to be together. You're a good man, Justice, and when you talk to Elizabeth and I'm sure you'll have a positive answer. Justice grinned. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Don't wait too long, Gabe said. I'd do it right away if I were you, or if not, then wait until like June. Why June? Keegan laughed. He's trying to get you to do it while he's here. Justice smiled. Oh, well, I don't know about all that. I have some thinking and praying to do. He smiled. Hey, but on another subject, I have to say, Gabriel Tanner, you have more than measured up to all the hype that surrounds you. You do not disappoint. Gabe sighed. Ah, go on. Justice laughed and drew a deep breath. Well, I'm anxious to go see my girl. Keegan nodded. Go. She's anxious to see you. Justice stopped at the threshold of Lily's room. He closed his eyes. He said a quick prayer and he peeked in. He smiled. The head of her bed was raised up, and she was sitting prettily there, her blanket folded neatly at her waist, and she seemed to be sound asleep. He came quietly into the room and stood next to the bed. His heart felt so full. They made it past this huge obstacle. She was alive, she was whole, she was his, and he was grateful, elated, rapturous. It was the first time he'd ever felt this way about a girl. Silently moving forward, he came close to the bed. He leaned over and kissed her forehead, then stood back and watched as her eyes fluttered open. Oh, Justice, you're finally here, she said, reaching her hands up to him. He leaned over and hugged her, pulled her slightly away, looked deeply into her eyes, and then gently ran his fingers over her face. And there you are, he said softly, alive, smiling, talking. I cannot tell you how grateful and relieved I am. Oh, Lily, when I thought you were dying, I wanted to die too. Her eyes filled. I'm sorry, Justice. I'm sorry you had to go through that. I'm sorry I caused you pain. He gave a soft groan and hugged her tightly, then pulled away and looked into her eyes, a bit of humor in his. Good. You should be. And don't you ever put me through that again. Never. You are not allowed to be sick or injured. Not ever again. That is my new rule. Will you obey me? She giggled. I'll try very hard. He cupped her face in both his hands and leaned forward and kissed one cheek and then the other cheek and then softly kissed her lips and pulled back again so he could see her whole face. I love you, Lily Tanner. She smiled brightly. Oh, I love you too, Justice Sawyer. I really do, and it makes me so happy to be able to say that. She reached up and touched his face. You're all scratched up. Yeah, it was a battle, but we won. And the scratches are because the bad guys broke all the windows, except our new front window. And the shards of glass were swirling all around us in the air like an indoor tornado, battering every inch of exposed skin. It was crazy. Lily shook her head in wonder. Gabe says you stepped up and saved the day. He says they threw you all over the place. Justice smiled. Yeah, they weren't too pleased with me, but they pissed me off. They said that you and Iris were theirs, and I screamed at them and told them you both were mine and God's, and they couldn't have you. And even if they succeeded in taking your lives, you and Iris would still belong to God, and you would be there in Jesus' arms forever, and that there was no way the bad guys would ever have you. Not ever. So I pissed them off too, and that's when they decided to throw me around. It wouldn't have been so bad if they hadn't already thrown the metal chandelier in the dining room at your brother. But when they did that, it left a jagged metal piece hanging from the ceiling, and they threw me up against it and, like, stabbed me in the back. Lily's eyes opened wide. Stabbed you? Are you okay? He shrugged and moved his shoulder around a bit. Well, I just got 11 stitches in my back above my left shoulder blade, but I'm alive and well, and my organs are all whole, so there's that. 11 stitches? That's a lot. No, it's not that bad. Take off your shirt and turn around, Lily said firmly. Justice started to argue with her, but smiled at her look of determination. He stepped back, drew his shirt over his head, and turned around. He smiled when he heard her say what he knew she would say. Well, I can't see it because it has a bandage over it. He chuckled. Yep, and I'm not going to take the bandage off. She giggled and reached out and touched his back. Come closer. He backed up and felt her press her cool hand against his back. Please heal him in Jesus' name, she said softly. Amen, he answered and turned back around. She gazed at his muscular chest and his abs and then met his eyes, and she blushed, and he grabbed his shirt and pulled it over his head. She smiled and sighed. I don't get to go home until tomorrow. I know, but I'm here. I'll stay with you all night. You will? She said excitedly, like a little kid who'd just been promised an ice cream cone. He chuckled. Well, yes, of course. I thought I'd lost you. I thought I'd never see you alive again. I thought I was going to have to wait through a lifetime to see you again. I'm staying right here. She reached out and took his hand. He squeezed hers affectionately and then got serious. I listened to the little goodbye video you made. Her cheeks turned pink, and he smiled. Don't be embarrassed. If you had passed, it would be a big comfort to me. Instead, it's a big push in the direction we want to take this relationship. You love me. I love you. We should get married and be together and have a house full of kids and be ecstatically happy forever. Eyes wide, she smiled at him. Is that a proposal? He frowned. Well, not a formal one. As I just promised your father that I would come to him and your mom first and get their blessing. Oh, really? How did that conversation come about? Well, your dad and Gabe came in at the end of me listening to that video you made, and your dad asked me if you and I were engaged, and I told him not yet, and that I would ask him for his blessing first, and then I told him it's not an if, but a when, and he told me that when I did come to him, he would give us his blessing. And then your brother told me to do it right away or wait until June because he wanted to be around when I proposed. I assume because he missed your sisters getting engaged. He was just being silly, but I had all these crazy thoughts running through my mind that maybe I should just do it. But I don't want it to be rushed or unplanned or haphazard. I want to do it right. Still, I'm thinking, why not a little pre-proposal? Pre-proposal? He smiled and nodded and leaned close. Yeah, like, why not a little personal secret proposal just between you and me? Lily, I am absolutely certain that God brought us together, and that it was pre-planned, maybe before we were born. You told me you were drawn to that house since you were a little kid. That sounds like a sign. The enemy has worked very hard to make sure our family doesn't continue. To me, that means that you and I, Lily, are going to make a huge difference in the world. I'm not sure how or what we will do. Or maybe it won't even be us. Maybe it will be our children if the world stays around that long. Still, sweet Lily, my girl, my beautiful woman of God, until the world ends and Jesus comes, you and I would like us to do everything and all that we can to bring a family of light to this world. Your father and mother have done just that. They've set the example of how it's done. What can you and I create together, baby? Just think of the love. Our home would be filled with it, filled to bursting. I love you, Lily Tanner, and I want to spend an eternity with you. I promise to try to get better every day, to be a better man tomorrow than I was today. I promise I won't break our wedding vows and make you hate me. I promise to learn and grow every day, and I promise I will love God and honor God and be faithful to him forever. I will never turn my back on him, which means I will never turn my back on you. Lily sniffed. He stopped talking for a few seconds and smiled at her emotional response before he went on. Lily, I will get stronger. I will protect you. I will provide for you. I will love you. Oh, how I will love you. I know we haven't known each other for very long, but people keep telling me that when you know, you know. And so, Lily Tanner, will you marry me? She wiped at the moisture in her eyes and sniffed and smiled sweetly. Justice, that was beautiful. How in the world could I be so blessed to have such a fine man of God want little old me? He rolled his eyes because she truly had no idea what a catch she was. Justice, I am so in love with you. And you really don't even need to ask. Of course I'll marry you. I thought maybe I'd be the old maid auntie to all of my sisters and my brother's children. Yeah, I remember you mentioned that the other day, and it's still just as ridiculous as ever. She shrugged. He sighed. Well, that was the enemy talking, trying to discourage you. She nodded. And so, to defy that enemy, I will marry you, Justice, whenever you want, wherever you want. But don't get me wrong. I do want to defy the enemy, but I want to marry you because I'm so in love with you. I think my heart might burst. I wanted to find someone who would be like my father, strong and protective and close to God and loving and smart and good with children and calm even when angry and humble and confident. You're just like him. And you're like my sister's fiancés, and I can't believe that I'm so blessed to be the one you want. He shook his head. We're going to have to work on that self-esteem issue, Lily. I want you to know just how amazing and how wonderful you are and worthy you are to be loved and cared for and protected. She sighed. Oh, it's not as bad as I make it seem. I have confidence. I am worthy, and I'm grateful, Justice. I'm so grateful you came to Pine Forest. Me too. Now, I'm going to go out and let your sister come back here to say goodnight to you, and then I'll be back with some good food, and we'll eat, and you and I can talk all night about our secret plans. What plans? When to propose, when to marry, where to live, how many children, what color to paint the nursery, what flowers to plant in the yard, cats or dogs or both, where to honeymoon. He stopped and shrugged. That's just off the top of my head. She giggled. Ooh, this sounds like a fun night. He moved closer. How do I keep myself from buying her gifts and spoiling her rotten? How many kisses are too many in a day? How many times to make love each night? He sighed. So many questions to find the answers to. Lily blushed. I'm looking forward to finding the answers. New scene out in the waiting room. Justice found only an Ameritech agent whom he didn't know, and Daisy. Justice Sawyer, Daisy began. This is Agent Morris. He was assigned to come and watch over Lily tonight. Justice nodded and shook his hand. Agent Morris, nice to meet you. He turned to Daisy. Violet and CJ have left for the day? Daisy nodded. Yes. Violet is totally exhausted after the ordeal, and CJ took her home, and that's why Agent Morris has been assigned just for tonight, and Cam and Dr. Keno dropped little Eli off with Aunt Jody and have gone up to Atlanta to check in on Iris. That's a long day for them. Daisy nodded. I told them that, but they promised that they wouldn't stay up there too long and would come back to the inn and crash and maybe even sleep in tomorrow morning. Justice laughed. That sounds like a great idea. So I came out here to send you in to say goodnight to your sister. I'm going to get her some decent food, and I'll be right back, and then I intend to stay with her all night. Oh, Daisy said with a smile. Oh, well then, isn't that nice? Justice grinned. Oh, it's more than nice. And that means you can go home and get some good food and get some rest because I'm sure you're tired too. I am, but I was willing to stay with Lily because, well, she's my sister and I thought I'd lost her today. Justice smiled. Oh, how I know just what you're feeling. Daisy looked him over. You love my sister, don't you? Oh, yes. Absolutely, positively, yes. And that will be the subject that she and I will talk about all night tonight. Daisy nodded. Okay, then. I'll allow it. The three people turned when another person walked into the waiting room, and Daisy's eyes opened wide. Brody? What in the world are you doing here? She exclaimed as she moved forward and fell against his chest. He laughed softly and held her tight as the sobs erupted. He rubbed his hand over her back and then patted her gently. Well, Lily and Iris were on their deathbeds, and I needed to be here for you, Daisy. I got special permission to leave. I got the first flight out and just made it into Atlanta an hour ago. Daisy sniffed and looked up. Oh, Brody. I'm so glad you're here. I thought I was being strong, but the moment I saw you, I realized how much I needed you. She laid her head back on his chest and cried. Shh, now, Daisy girl, I got you. I'm sorry it took me so long to get here. I'm sorry I lived so far away from you. Shh, now, baby. She sniffed and looked up. Lily and Iris are going to be okay. He nodded. I called your father the minute we landed, and he told me what happened. It's so hard to believe what went down. And he told me that you were being so strong for your sister and for your mother, who's been desperately worried about you. We? You said the minute we landed? Oh, yeah, Dad and Mom and Gracie are here, too. You Tanners are like family. We couldn't not be here for you. She sniffed again and then remembered two other people who were in the room. Pushing away from him, she smiled timorously and pointed at Agent Morris. This is Agent Morris. He's been assigned to watch over Lily tonight. Agent, this is Brody Smith. Brody nodded and shook the agent's hand. Agent Morris, nice to meet you and thank you for your service. You as well, and my pleasure, he answered. Daisy touched Justice's shoulder. And this is Justice Sawyer, who is Lily's new guy. Justice smiled and shook Brody's hand. It's nice to meet you. So, you are Toby Nash's and Caroline Smith's son, right? Brody nodded. I am. Justice smiled. And Gracie Nash's brother. Brody nodded again. Right again. I didn't want to leave her out, Justice said with a grin. I've heard all about you. You're the #1 MLB draft pick in the nation. Number 3 right now. We'll see. Well, I've watched a highlight reel from your college career, and you are awesome, and I'm honored to meet you. Brody smiled. Thank you so much. Though none of that means anything if I don't produce this season. I'm sure you'll produce, Justice said. Thanks. So I'm about to go get Lily some food that doesn't suck. Anybody want anything? Brody looked at Daisy. I'm hoping to talk my girl into going with me to get something to eat. Daisy smiled. A little while ago I would have told you no, but Justice has just informed me that he's staying with Lily all night, so yeah, I'll go with you. Where are you guys staying? Well, the inn was full, so Ricky Keno invited us all to stay at the Keno Plantation home. Daisy smiled. Ooh, you get to stay at the fancy place. Just be careful if you go walking on the property. Brody laughed. I will. I learned my lesson. Okay, then, I'm going to take off, Justice said. Agent Morris, I know you'll tell me that you don't need anything to eat, but I'm going to bring you back a meal anyway. It's not necessary, sir. Yes, I know. Still, see you soon. Brody, nice to meet you, and I'm sure I'll see you again. Daisy, see you tomorrow. Justice took his leave, and Daisy smiled at Brody. Well, I want to go say goodnight to Lily. Would you like to come back and see her a minute? He nodded. I would love that. Genesis chapter 22, verses 10 through 18. Then he reached out his hand and took the knife to slay his son. But the angel of the Lord called out to him from heaven, Abraham, Abraham. Here I am, he replied. Do not lay a hand on the boy, he said. Do not do anything to him. Now I know that you fear God, because you have not withheld from me your son, your only son. Abraham looked up, and there in a thicket he saw a ram caught by its horns. He went over and took the ram and sacrificed it as a burnt offering instead of his son. So Abraham called that place, the Lord will provide. And to this day it is said, on the mountain of the Lord it will be provided. And the angel of the Lord called to Abraham from heaven a second time and said, I swear by myself, declares the Lord, that because you have done this and have not withheld your son, your only son, I will surely bless you and make you your descendants as numerous as the stars in the sky and as the sand on the seashore. Your descendants will take possession of the cities of their enemies, and through your offspring all nations on earth will be blessed, because you have obeyed me. And that is the end of chapter 29.